Well, could I say something? Could I?
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, that was very informative. I had a tensor treatment yesterday for my accident with acupuncture, and the acupuncturist was not the same one. My acupuncture wasn't getting enough business where she was at, so she moved on. But um, I had a tensor treatment, and obviously that's the acupuncture needles applied by a master acupuncturist, and then the current was turned on. But I still think drives, and that's why I keep bringing up the time cycles, because those are the deep ones. And then whatever that is, I mean, and it's different for everybody, and it's only a permission slip. But the tensor treatment, I think, will be effective because that current stimulation will, if we can get it at the right frequency on the right meridian, then that will break the loop, because the current will, or maybe we would have current for the particular meridian, but then actuate another meridian, even if it's just like for dopamine or whatever, because you need to break the loop because they're getting a severe hit of dopamine when they're in that loop, right?
What I'm currently working on is getting specific programs for each individual structure and so on through the TENS device. And it will be mediated by specific acupuncture points. So we will have something like a selection of possible programs for each priority. And when you play the program with the harmonic boost, or maybe with only the TENS, if it's a better solution for you, Jeff, you will be guided as to where to place the device on the body to convey a specific TENS program with specific frequencies that are in synergy with the audio frequencies to the current playing program. But Jeff, what you said was really interesting, and I didn't record. So if you can just, in a sense, tell us again why you think TENS or audio could be a solution in it was in the context of Alzheimer, you said, or what?
Yeah, from the psychiatrist I worked with, and he worked with a lot of people who were coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan and stuff. And they, from their traumas and stuff, they were locked in these loops. And he was having problems with a lot of younger people who were gamers. And so they were locked into their game machines. And I know with my kids when they were young, when they would play Nintendo and Pac-Man and things like that, we'd say, okay, put the game away, let's have dinner. And it was like, a major war to get them to break away from that. And so then the other thing, that's my phone ringing, I'm sorry.
We don't hear it, no problem.
Okay. So then my mother spent 8.5 years with Alzheimer's in a nursing home, and she had probably 2 years working up to that. And and I was in charge of taking care of her and everything. And so I noticed her sensitivity, and I tried to use some things with her, and I tried to use frequencies, but she was so sensitive to the sounds. She wouldn't listen to anything, and even playing it on speakers, she would just say, turn it off, And so the sensitivity levels were too much, and even like trying to play old familiar tunes to them. And the nursing home, I know sometimes they had to move her out of the room when they'd be playing music. They'd bring in entertainment and stuff, and the volumes and stuff were too much for her. And so I'm just kind of wondering about the patches and stuff. I think would be really good, because if we could identify where in the brainstem where that stuff is, I think that would be really important to be able to see that. And then obviously the scans to see whereabouts. It'd be nice to see in the hemispheres, kind of like CT scans, where you could see what's happening in the brain and what level of the brain, where the traumas are they in the brain stem, or where are they located for the frequencies to be able to open that kind of stuff up.
Yeah.
So my sister-in-law does play music all the time, but we can't get into her thing to see what music she listens to, but she won't listen to anything else. I tried to give her music, and I thought she had it on there, and they said, no, she hasn't done that in the last couple of years. And but she does close herself off. She used to walk. She was in great health. She'd walk 5 or 10 miles every day. Um, and it was just amazing when we found out what was happening with her memory stuff. And so I don't think her again. We could get her to probably change that, but the patches might be something that someone could use on them carefully.
Yeah.
The hardest thing is going to be is getting them to hold the sensor to actually get a scan out of them, because
Mm.
they're going to look at you like either going to drop it or not hold it, because they can't hold their attention very long.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
they're very sensitive to, like, on their fingers and things like that, a lot of them. So it's going to be a hard one, but it's an incredible possibility for all of us, in our work of helping people, if we can find ways to make that happen. And obviously, the software is got the potential to be able to do that. It's whether the individuals, we can find a way that to make it work, that we can teach it to a whole bunch of people, so that it's functional.
Yeah. No, so you raise a lot of important points. I think we should start with hypersensitivity, because this is somehow what you raise, and these people seems to have a very, very high hypersensitivity question. I think what you say about the patches or the transducers is one immediate solution, of course. We have you can either play the audio frequencies through a transducer that will deliver it in as a magnetic field instead of audio, and so you will not hear anything in that case. We have received some transducers from, well, the one from Dan Winter, probably, that are called PiezoFire. And we have received other transducers from one of the BioCoherence users from Holland, I think, that builds himself some modified headphones where he just removes the speaker part and he replaces it either by a Tesla coil or by a magnetic transducer. So it makes something very lightweight that you can use locally on your skin just to receive the frequency message, but you really don't have any sound at all. So that might be a solution, and it's really a cheap and convenient solution. So this is not a product that we will sell ourselves, but this is a product that is part of the BioCoherence users solutions. So this is something that we can get you in touch with if you want to test that. And they sell it for really cheap. So it's probably an interesting solution. They have I think 3 different type of transducers. So this is something you can test. And the other one, of course, is the next device that we will present at the summit that delivers PEMF. So it's electrical impulses. As I said earlier, what we are currently working on is to have a set of some different specific programs for each of the priorities. So you will just, according to your priorities, choose the programs you want to include into your harmonization. And all of these programs will be tuned to the audio frequencies that are delivered at the same time. So it will be a kind of synergetic way of delivering audio frequencies that could be transduced to only magnetic frequencies if you want, through this transducer I just told you about. And at the same time, delivering electrical impulses that are tuned to the audio frequencies. So it's not the same frequencies, it's different frequencies, but they are meant to work together and to enhance their effects. So if you use a transducer and these electrical frequencies, you might have a very good solution to address your hypersensibility questions. And another thing is that we had a few weeks ago a very nice testimonial about a Down syndrome guy that had a very, very good effect of using the frequencies. And he went into more communication, more tolerance, more. He slept at night, which is something he never did before that. So we can notice real behavior changes in cases that seems to be hopeless, so this Down syndrome case, for me, is a great hope, because only by applying frequencies that he could tolerate in this case. So it's not exactly the same problem as you, but only by applying frequencies, you see huge behavioral changes. So if we can find a way to unlock this initial aversion, or what can I say, for audio frequencies, and we have another way to deliver these frequencies, as you say, maybe we can unlock a lot of very interesting things in the cases you mentioned.
I worked with a lady with Down syndrome for 2 years with frequencies.
Yeah.
And they brought her to me as a test because she was so agitated and she wouldn't sleep. And the people who were caring for her were having a hard time keeping her down. And her older brother brought her to me. And she loved it. And I had the sound bed, and she would just fall asleep with the frequencies. And I'd play a little classical music with it just to have her listen to something so she didn't know.
Mhm.
And it worked for a long time. And then she got too ill to be able to be bussed over because she was like 40 miles away.
Mm.
But I think the frequencies for that, for sure, are really important. And the other thing I wanted to ask is the possibility that, is there a way, instead of like with the Alzheimer's and somebody who is ill, to create a sensor that could be just put somewhere on the body, and not necessarily do they have to hold on to it for a while, to do it like a patch somewhere
Yeah.
on the body?
Yeah,
You-
it's in process. Right now, we only have this device that which has many advantages, being cheap and easy to manipulate and so on, but it doesn't connect to patches. And frankly, it's the plan since the start to have a higher device that can use patches, and we have several options for that. It's just a bit complicated because it's not the same protocols and so on. So we have other things to implement, but we build that in China. So we have a medical manufacturer there, and they went here at our office this week to discuss exactly this kind of questions, because we need to have a professional device, and we need to have a device with patches, and so we had a meeting not later this week about exactly this. We need to have a device with patches that is able to record you on a long term, for instance, or to just record you in situations where you cannot hold the device for a few minutes, or for animals too. We need to have a device to be able to measure animals, and for that we need external patches and clamps. So as soon as we have a device with a universal cable. This is the kind of cable that you have with professional devices, and with these pin buttons, you can plug patches, so disposable patches or permanent patches if you want, or you can plug clamps, for instance, for animals. So probably yes, next year we will have another device. So we will keep this device as the general public device, or an easy to move device. You can have always you can have it always in your pocket and just connect. It's really easy, but we will have a bigger device that does a lot of things more than just ECG.
Will we have transducers then this fall?
The transducers are already available. As I said, we will not build the transducers by ourselves. We will just recommend some manufacturers. One of them is Dan Winter with the Piezophile. That comes at around $700 or euros or something like that. And another solution is the one I told you about, and we can just publish their website as soon as I have it somewhere. And they have a solution around something like 70 euros for one device. So if you want the 3 devices, it's around 200 euros, or maybe the same in dollars, I don't know. And it's a very easy device. I should maybe at one point I will just go away 2 minutes and fetch them, because it's upstairs, so I can show you. Mhm.
I've been experimenting. I have an old Patrick Flanagan neurophone, and it was for people who are deaf, and he would put it on the skull. And so I was running my frequencies through that to test that, and it really worked.
Okay.
You know, so I had problems in my meniscus and stuff, and I had taken, and I said, well, I put the headphones on there, and I wasn't really seeing any kind of results with it, and I put those on there, and ran them, and I went, wow, okay, now we're getting somewhere. And they're cheap little things, you know. It was from a long time ago, and they didn't seem to work without running through his unit, so I didn't know if there was a little boost in there or whatever. But I was going to show you what those were. But I mean, they're really light and stuff, so it would be easy for someone to use and as an alternative. And it came with the unit, so I don't know if they sell those separate or whatever, but I'll look into that for you and let you know.
Yeah.
There's also another option we didn't discuss yet, is the quantifi device, again promoted by Dan Winter back in the days, because my clients use that, and if there's a center for Alzheimer's, there must be some money involved. So if you buy this, it costs $5,000. It's very fragile, but there's no noise. So you lie in these tubes, in these plasma tubes. I think Dan knows them. And there's no noise. So my clients, if they come, they go into this system and stay there for half an hour and get all the frequency without noise. So another option.
Well, I just pasted the URL from Alpha Surya, which is one of the BioCoherence users that makes themselves some very cheap devices that are transducers. So it's not the same as Dan Winter's devices, but they have the advantage of being very cheap. So if you want to try with that, Jeff, I have some here. So I don't know if you come to the summit or not, but we will have some of these devices at the summit if you want to try them. And if you want to buy them, you just buy them with them directly. It's Alpha Surya from Holland. I don't know if they ship to US and so on. You have to see with them. We can put you in contact with them because they are BioCoherence users.
My question on the Alzheimer's is, if you get to a state where it's a fixed state, will the frequencies change that? Or do we need to start first, like I was talking to Steve last night about this, about starting with Alzheimer's patients that have been newly diagnosed.
Yeah.
And can't get a turnaround that way, instead of going in to like Jeff's mother-in-law.
Okay, so I'm not an expert on Alzheimer's, so I can only say on the side of technical things that we can do with BioCoherence. Nonetheless, I'm very interested in microtubules. There is a lot of research on microtubules and mitochondria right now.
What are
microtubules? How do you say that in English?
anyone else
Microtubule.
understand what do you say?
I do.
Who knows that?
Micro what? You're like breaking up now, Dan.
Like microtubules. I do understand that. I have a nephew that's autistic. And
No, okay. Let me just check how you say that in English.
Microtubule. I've never heard that word before.
MT, yeah, microtubules. Okay, so just a few words about it because it's very speculative, but it's also very interesting. There is a lot of research on mitochondria. Do you say mitochondria or mitochondria?
Mitochondria. Yeah.
Okay, mitochondria, which is seen until now as only the power center of the cell. You know, it's said that it's just building ATP and nothing else. it seems to be much more important to the cell as only building ATP. It seems also to be related to Alzheimer in many ways. So when working on Alzheimer, I would start working on restoring mitochondrial function. Okay. The second thing that is very speculative but very interesting is the ORC-OR theory by Penrose and Hamroff, which simply states that consciousness is mediated via microtubules from the energetic or information space to the material space. And microtubules, currently by main science, are only seen as structural entities that are just holding the cell together, so it's like pillars, But it seems that microtubules are much more than pillars because they seem to resonate. That will speak to you. They seem to resonate in a cascade of frequencies from hertz to gigahertz in a kind of golden ratio manner, if you see what I mean. And it seems that many microtubules dimensions are exact Elphi value.
And
So
they transmit photonic. It's all
yeah,
infrared.
yeah, they are linked to photonic information, and they are linked to a lot more than just being structural beams in the cell. The third bit of information I want to give you is that in Alzheimer, you have some plaque, okay, amyloid plaque. Is that the correct term? I think that is building up around neurons and blocking the information. But in fact, what you need to work is the neuron outer layer. And because I just spoke 3 hours in French, I am completely cooked. So how is that called?
Your French is strong today.
What?
Your French is very strong today.
Yeah. Myelin. Okay.
Listen closely.
So you have to work on myelin. Myelin?
Melanin.
No, myelin. How do you say that?
The myelin liner.
Myelin. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so myelin is the outer layer of neurons, and myelin is also very strong in healthy dimensions. And myelin is actually multiplying by something like 1,000 or 1 billion the electrical activity of neurons. I think what happens in the Alzheimer situation is that plaque is blocking myelin and crushing it, so it doesn't work anymore. And the last bit of information, and you do what you want with that, is it seems that plaque is just a waste product of the cell that is somehow put outside and should be taken by waste management people, but the waste management people don't do their proper work. So it's just a lot of different information that I just reading about. So I'm not giving you direct ways of working on that, but I think all of these points should be taken into account when you start working on Alzheimer.
So when you get that stuff, and Dan, you would be the guy I would ask to look into this. I've been studying stuff from Dr. Hammer from German New Medicine since 2005, all about trauma.
Yeah.
And fortunately, all his work, he had to have CT scans to be able to analyze all this stuff. There's a lot of good things that come from it, but none of it is quick fixes. So we couldn't use it in the clinic, as a regular protocol, but it's in the traumas. And so when you go into the drives and you see where the traumas are, every single person with a deep disease will have a severe trauma located somewhere that's blocking. The plaque is there, which is the blockage in the brain. And depending where that is will affect the different organs and the different layers of where they are. And so you, with your knowledge of what you're doing there with the drives, would be a really important area to really start studying for all the Alzheimer's stuff and for all the actual trauma type stuff, is to looking back and seeing what happened in the last couple of years maybe asking some questions or putting that in the questionnaire about have you had any traumas in these past couple of years, and we can track it back, because a lot of times, with like breast cancer or something, you could usually tell where it came from if you look back, a loss or a certain problem with a mate, passes away, or a divorce happens or something like that. Is it coming in on the left side, or is it on the right side? Is it mother, father? Is it children relationship? So there's a lot of areas that you can look into, and in the drives look like that's the gold mine of information to look at, in these deeper problems as we go along.
Yeah. You saw that Christine made an Alzheimer program in the basic programs, and she made a description of it that resonates with what you say. I actually have a book by Hammer, and we have integrated some of the Hammer principles into the app. But it's really interesting to see what Hammer thinks about how you integrate a trauma from the moment it happens to the denial phase and so on, and to the final integration into a disease. Of course, Hammer was heavily mocked because he was probably a little bit too early into his mind-body processes. But it's really interesting, and it's really grounded also in embryology. And if you are interested in Hammer, you will be really interested in Christine's second book, because she is using Hammer's work and approach to push it even further in emotional interpretation of diseases. And that is a lot integrated into BioCoherence.
How do you spell that name?
Hammer, Hemer, Hamer.
Very cool. Thank you.
Gerd
Dr. Gerd Hammer.
Hammer.
Yeah.
I have a small book here if you want, but it's in French.
Yeah. Is Christine's second book in English now or no?
It's not yet in French. She's trying hard to finish it for the summit, and then we will try to have a very quick English preview. But it will dive much deeper into everything she wrote in the first book. So
I have a very good friend who actually worked with Dr. Hammer at one point, and that's how I ended up with it, because I had some deep mold problems, but some losses. Our grandson was murdered, and I ended up with rashes and all kinds of health issues. We tried everything, went through all kinds of biopsies and things on me and stuff. And looking at that deep emotional stuff, it took 2 years, which was the drag of looking at Hammer's work, is because there's no quick fix.
no.
It's going in there and trying to find out, okay, which trauma are we going with and all that. And so there's a gold mine there to be found if you can find it. But most people who would come into the clinic when I was working with Dr. Scott, the hard thing is we got people coming in who have prostate cancer or something, and they come to us at the end of when the doctors gave up on them, and so they're looking for instant results,
Yeah.
quick fix. And I go, it took years to get you where you were, or severe trauma. So how do we work with that to resolve some of that stuff? And the nice thing about the passivity of the frequencies, if we could do patches and things on them, we could be calming them and getting them to a state where the hemispheres and that can allow you to heal.
Yeah, exactly.
We got to get you there.
Exactly. And I urge you to look at momentums, the momentum screens in the energy, because there are a lot of blockages that are based in momentums, and you have to work on that first if you want to be able to move things.
Can you run through that quick?
Yeah. On screen, you mean?
And you're talking through Alzheimer's, or are you talking?
Not specifically. Just if you see. Oh, sorry, it's in French. I have to switch it in English. If you see users that are not prone to change, you have to start with momentum. That's what I mean. So you go to energy, And it's back to French. Okay.
We all need to have a French
Ooh la
lesson.
Ooh la la.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very sticky to French. Okay, anyway, you go to energy and you go to momentum, which is élan in French, okay? And you work on the first two here that might be sources of problem to get things done, you know, to get new habits and so on.
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be in English for us to understand that.
Yeah, I will just restart it. So I would love to find a way to integrate what Jeff was talking about all the process you have to go through when you do the hammer system. I didn't find a way to really streamline it or automatize it. So you still have to go to the hard way of examining things and doing the hard work. But it's something I really wanted to integrate somehow into BioCoherence because it's really, really interesting. So try and, if you're interested in emotional work, try and see how Amos sees this problem. And then probably you can work with the emotions, with the moods, and with the drives to see the priorities right now and to try and pinpoint it to an actual event that happened. Because of course, as Jeff said, it's always an actual event, and we cannot have a reading of an actual event in the app with just the biomarkers if you don't ask the questions to your clients. So it might be a very good way to start with drives and to see what resonates with your clients. And if at some point you speak about a specific emotion and you see your clients melting, you can understand that you found something that deeply resonates with them. And at that point, maybe you can try and find the root emotion and the root event that's somehow transferred into the actual disease. And while this event is not resolved, and while the grief is still here, it will be almost impossible to get rid of the disease. It will always come back in different forms, you know. Yes, not easy. Jeff, you want to say anything else about that? Because you seems very knowledgeable.
Well, there's so much to learn there.
Yeah.
And, and his books have been corrupted by quite a few different people around the world because I've kept up with several of them. And actually, I took some online courses from a couple of them, a lady from Austria and one from Poland. I see there's conflicts in some of that kind of information. So basically, Dr. Hammer's books are the best way to get a grounding from it. And they're not cheap. I think American, they're like $75 for the entry level one that explains the 5 biological laws. And not to get into that because it's kind of sidetracking what we're trying to do here with BioCoherence. But it's important, I think, in the emotional stuff that we all look at those traumas that happen to everybody. And sometimes the traumas that I'm talking about, something that comes unexpected, like a car accident or you slip and fall and hurt yourself or, something like that versus something that was kind of planned and stuff. So
that's interesting because my father died, or I mean, his ship in the Navy blew up while he was on leave on a weekend, and he never talked about it after that. And he got Alzheimer's. And so when you guys are talking about this, I'm like, tick, 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 tick. It's like running through my brain.
It's not working.
That makes sense to
So
what
this
you're
is-
saying.
yeah, Dr. Hammer
Yeah,
stuff.
this is the kind of key of drawings that you find in Hammer's book that explains the process you do when you process an emotion. And basically, it comes from active to passive states. And at one point, when it's not properly digested, it becomes an active disease. But to unlock the disease, you have to go back into all of this process to untie all the knots, you know.
And some of the interesting things in that work is that when we see things that where you're actually in a healing crisis, when you're at the point where someone's blowing out with a tumor or something is coming to the surface, you're actually in a healing phase, but that's in the phase where conventional medicine wants to operate and cut it out of you. And if they would be more patient and allow it to happen, the process will happen naturally and things will unfold, you know, as those emotions start healing.
Is that what's happening with Heather?
I believe so, yes.
That makes so much sense.
I'm just looking if the small book.
So it's locked in, you know, you go through the phases of parasympathetic.
Yes, okay. So this book is an introduction to Hammer, and it's also available in English. So you can find it on Amazon. It's self-published. Andrea Tadei.
Okay, I haven't read his, but I have all.
It's very small. It's like 60 pages or something like that, but 100 pages. But it gives a very simple introduction to the concept of Hammer. And I see it's on Amazon. So
the 5 biological laws are covered in there?
yeah. And it's $14, so you can just invest in that, you know.
I might have that in a PDF that I can throw into Telegram. I'll look. But I mean, I have all the maps and stuff. The thing that I'm missing that I want to find is someone in German, and maybe Michael could even help with that sort of thing if he has any knowledge of Hammer's work, is the teeth charts. Because the other thing that really comes up with a lot of the diseases and things are looking back at how it's affecting the teeth. And Hammer had the teeth charts and stuff done in German, but no one's actually interpreted it correctly to put it into, I don't think, French or English yet. And my friend Mariel has her brother, I think, was trying to get someone to try to convert that, because I wanted to see where in the levels of the ectoderm or wherever, where is that coming from in the teeth? Because one person might have it just as a gingivitis or, you know, a gum disease or stuff happening, or someone else might have where they want to do a root canal or an abscess or something like that. And it's tied to what level of where that is stated in the brain of which level do you go to, and seeing that's where I'm looking at the drives and momentums now to see that now if we can figure out where they are and we can locate where that is, we can help that emotional part be balanced.
Yeah, and it's exactly the kind of development I want to do in BioCoherence, because we already have the teeth part, of course, in BioCoherence, which has also some emotional interpretations, but I'm not aware of Hammer's teeth interpretation, so maybe it could be enhanced somehow. And of course, the relation of endoderm, ectoderm, etc. So the embryonic sheets is central to Hammer and is also central to Christine's work. So this is something that we will also enhance in the coming times in BioCoherence, probably.
Yeah.
The path is momentums, atoms, drives. And that's why I keep bringing up the time cycles, the long waves, because that's depth. And I used a very terrible example of depth charges, but really that's what you want to do. And going back to the amyloid plaque, when it's in the brain,
your camera is off, Dan? Is that on purpose?
I just turned it off so my hand would be. You guys never looked at my hand and gave me the chance to talk. Jeff's
yes, but everybody talks.
Yeah, well, I was trying to not go over people.
No, it's fine.
So that's what they're trying to do with alchemy. You know, momentums, geopathy, right? Heavy metals. Where do you track that from? Atoms, right? And then the resonance.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you can still backtrack through it. And then as you start looking, well, I've done several alchemical experiences and worked with a lot of different heavy metals that I've either sublimated, smelted or whatever. But, there is a path there. You just have to tie it together. You have the information, Medrick, right?
Mm.
And, it's there. It's just a combination.
Yeah. But
and
as you say,
you can start with drives and then backtrack, right? And how do you backtrack? Through the causal chain.
Yeah.
Well, then you start seeing the stuff in the causal chain, and then, momentums, geopathy. Those are associated, it's not just emotions, those are associated with other biological things or atomic things. And there is the path there. You just need to connect it. And then if we could figure out the long waves, right? By breaking down the cycles, quick cycles, that means there's no blockage, but it is a trauma, right? And like I said, for amyloid plaque, when it should
Wait, stop, please. Dan, go back to what you just said. That's very important.
well, I know it's very important, but I try to tie stuff into it because I just dropped a bomb on you and I'm trying to give you structure of where the bomb came from. Okay. And it's all, it's not just in one module. You need to go from this module and understand what that module does, and then look in the causal chain there and then find out, it's pointing me to here. Now you got to go and understand, because we're adding three esoteric theories and the atomic structure. And if you could convert the atomic structure, Medrick, instead of the Mendeleev periodic table, if you could incorporate Walter Russell's.
yes, it's in my pipeline since 1 year. I have to do it.
I have universal one. I have, all of Walter Russell's work, but, and this just comes from this is what I read, for the past 30 years, I mean, and I don't always know it at once, but, my guides are telling me that drives, because really the power of biocoherence is and whether, my nephew has autism, and when we go to family functions and I bring my plasma fire, not my pyrite, and I play emotional balance. Now, he's kind of a high functioning autism, but he's really quiet. But when I play the emotional relaxation, and then I have a communication with him, we talk about whatever. I mean, my autistic nephew is in communication with William H. Boeing. Who is that? He's the founder of Boeing's. And, anyway, so but to get him to communicate like that, it took the plasma fire just in the room running the emotional relaxation. And because he's autistic, the best thing you can do, Medrick, is get the sensors Bluetooth, have them sync like your headphones, your earbuds, and then have that sync to BioCoherence, right? So now it's just a band, and make it like dinosaurs or something, right? And then now you can put it on anybody. Same with an Alzheimer, maybe make it flowers or something.
Yeah.
My aunt, I cannot get her to hold on to the sensor. She'll hold on to it, but she's talking, she's moving, she won't stand still. I do have, she's got Alzheimer's, and she's Alzheimer's
How do they do EKGs in the hospital on these people?
patches.
Patches.
They have to stick the patches on them. My mom just had her heart monitored for 72 hours. It was just a little box about as big as a pack of cigarettes. And it was just, and it had patches that hooked up to the body with wires, and she carried it in her pocket. And that.
Let me intervene, Dan. That emotional one that you're talking about, I find that if I give that to my clients along with I feel sick, it works better. If they have the two together work. So I wonder if we play that before we do the client.
Just have it running in the background. It's better if it's photonic, because that's why I use the plasma fire. For one thing, it grabs his attention, my nephew. The other thing is you don't have to listen to it. The photonic field is It's actuating your etheric body. And that's where all your energy starts, is in your etheric body before it even comes down into your physical body, right? So you don't have to listen to it. If you're going to put something on them, then it needs to be magnetic. And that's what the piezo fire discs are. He won't do those, but he will listen to them. He will sit in front of the plasma fire because the little arcs, it's just like watching a fire. It's mesmerizing,
Right.
right? And I haven't been able to do a scan with him because my sister is, a couple of my sisters, they don't get it. And it's, and I know why they don't get it, and I'm not going to say why they don't get it, but it's because there are things about their body that they don't want anybody to know about.
Mm.
And one of them's my daughter, and I know all about it. She's never told me, but I know all about it. But she doesn't want a body scan because then it will, and those are traumas, and those are traumas that have a time cycle,
Yeah.
right? That's from when she was a teenager and something biological happened that would have, she wasn't ready for. And she took care of it. But that's a big trauma, right? And if I could get a reading, right? Maybe even a couple readings so that I could get resonance, then I could, and then look at the cycles, right? Because then I'm looking for depth. And then you got to find out what biomarker groups are resonating at that cycle. And that will tell you, it'll give you a clue. It won't tell you everything, but it'll give you a clue to, oh, this one's really deep. Okay, so because you know what, when you do the questionnaires, I always and I'm the one doing the questionnaire, and I go, well, I didn't, it's just you're on a spot, right? It's like, the difference, like willpower. Everybody says I have no willpower. Well, yeah, because willpower, when you create something through willpower, you're not creating it out of benevolence. You're creating it out of lack, separation, right? So that's what you need to focus on. I mean, you don't focus on that, but they're not remembering. So you have to look at the cycles and bring these things up and then combine those frequencies. And if they won't sit there and listen to the, a lot of people say, I don't have time for an hour to sit in the meditation. They don't meditate anyway, right? So then you give them harmonic boost. That's why I have the plasma fire and the phi ray. They just have to sit there in the room. I mean, my phi ray's running in the other room right now. Why? Because I'm charging up my house, right? I mean, these are all simple things. My guides tell me that BioCoherence is going to be the emotional rescue going forward. That's what it's going to be.
I agree.
I mean, that's what my guides tell me. They say, you just got to stick with this and you're going to help millions of people. And it's like, why? Because
but you're raising a very important point, which is sometimes people don't want to be revealed. And we see a lot of things with BioCoherence. So there's two sides to this coin, and maybe we would have to make some protocols where we start only with the most obvious things and we don't go deep too quick because it can scare people. So maybe if you
I had an alcoholic here,
yeah.
and I was playing the I Feel Sick for her daughter who had a cold, and she was in the kitchen, and she was like, "This is making me feel very anxious. I want you to turn it off. I don't like it at all."
Mhm.
And I knew because her demons were just like going agitated.
Yeah.
And it actually just like nixnayed the whole room.
Yeah.
Her was so strong.
You
So how do you get past that?
I imagine you all heard about collateral benefits of a disease. Collateral benefits.
What is it?
Okay, so collateral benefits. Do you understand the word? Collateral, sorry.
Okay, the French is deep today.
I'm sorry. Okay, so everybody with a disease or an addiction has a benefit for having it somehow. So the addiction is quite obvious. It's to avoid something or you don't know what. The disease is usually less obvious. So if we are
to avoid something, always to
yes,
avoid.
and so if we are back to Alzheimer, for instance, usually people with Alzheimer want to stop remembering things somehow because something hurts them too much, you know. So maybe you have to work on what is the benefit of this disease, and it can help you pinpoint what is the emotion that started the process, you know, and what is the event that started the process. But it's not easy. Mhm.
When you have Alzheimer's, when at least the people I've observed in my family that have Alzheimer's, you know, they're mostly out of their body, and what's holding them in their body is the traumas that they haven't resolved. And that's the part of the Alzheimer's. That's the anchoring point. Alzheimer's is the anchoring point. These people are at an exit point in their soul contract, but they're not ready to go yet because they're anchored with these traumas they haven't resolved. It's not necessarily, you know, all karma does is show you all karma does is show you who you are. That's what karma does. It shows you who you are. The same thing with suffering. Suffering helps you bring out the light from the darkness. Darkness has a bunch of light, but it's being absorbed. Those are the two things. But Alzheimer's, that's what's holding Alzheimer's people here. Now, if you can help them uh, release the blockages, those traumas, then they're back in their body, and then they can either choose to stay or move on. But and this is just my perspective from my years of experience, but it's the anchors that are still holding them on earth because, you know, my guides tell me people that have Alzheimer's or dementias, they're only 10 or 15, maybe at the most 20% in their body. That's it. The rest they're outside.
Yeah.
It's just like the little child that gets abused and she goes into shock trauma. Well, the only way she can survive it at her age and not knowing what's going on is she leaves her body. So it's just like feel.
At a point, though, it doesn't start that way.
Well, okay, I'm just telling you, this is just my perspective. Your perspective may be different. I'm only explaining it on how I see it or how I would. And it's not diagnose it. It's always just providing a permission slip. Because sometimes, you know, if you got the frequencies going, how I got Wally to talk, because I just sit there and listen to him ramble about his game and stuff. And then finally he showed a point where he was able, that's when he brought up Mr. Boeing, right? And he brought that up in front of everybody in the room. And then I said, well, Wally, are you still in communication with him? He said, well, no, not right now. And then he just dropped it. We all dropped it. But anyway, that's all I have to say. I mean, I need to, I would love to stay longer, but I have a doctor's appointment for my accident and I got to get ready to go because I have to leave in an hour. So
Anyway, Laura, I think, yeah,
can't wait to see you.
what you said, Dan, and what you said, Jeff and Laura, all pinpoints to the fact that we have to find the root emotions and the root events of what happens, and we can be helped by drives, causal chain, momentum, etc. And all of this is already available in BioCoherence. So the last thing you have to do is use these hints and these readings to help you find the actual events and maybe do this more mental process of processing it. And again, I think the personal guide and guided meditation can help a lot on that. If you can have people engage in it. Yes, Jeff, you wanted to add something? Thank you.
I came across a graphic I had saved a couple of days ago, and because I was thinking about addictions and different problems, and it was a graphic of a tree, and it showed, like, you know, people who are addicted to alcohol or sex or abuse or all these kind of things, and those are like the branches on the tree. And we go, like, an alcoholic will go to a rehab program or something like that, and then he just comes back and does it all again because it's not being resolved, because down in the roots are where the problems lie. And it could be grief, it could be, and that's where those traumas are. And I'll find that and I'll throw that into Telegram. I don't remember who it came from, but it made a lot of sense, and it would explain things when you're working with people, to remember that what you're identifying at the top is only the symptoms, where the real thing that's going on is deep in the roots.
Yeah.
And so the emotional traumas or like that. So I'll throw that graphic for everybody to look at. And you guys can do with it what you may. Okay.
No, it's a very good.
I just want to
very
say
good
one
image.
thing about that. That's very good, Jeff. If there's a way that we can look at the cycles, right? Because if it's only one time a minute, that's a really deep one, right? And I may not, I don't know Medric because I didn't program this, but I do know that if you can focus on those and then evolve around those deep cycles and then put frequencies, even Christine's meditations, because Christine's basically a walking MRI. But that would, there you go.
The cycles are one of the things that powers the causal chain. But what you are asking is to isolate the long ones somehow.
Yes.
Yes, and that comes with attention, intention, horizon. So long horizons are the long cycles. I have to check if I can find a solution for you for that. Okay.
Okay. Well, that's going to be your key, and then it makes it easy. And if they don't want to listen to it, then use magnetic or photonic harmonization.
Yeah.
Your harmonizer, your tensor that's going to be really good, right? Anyway, I've got to go. Everybody, thank you, love you.
Okay, thanks.
But Dan, can I ask you a quick question? Can you do a
Sure.
class on the causal chain and how you view it?
Yeah, I can. Well, that's going to be basically my talk at BioCoherence, but I want to go over my talk dry run with Medric and Steven because I don't want to have it fail because that'll put egg on everybody's face. So I really want to have I want to do 2 or 3 dry runs, even if we record it, all 3 sessions, and then that'll be available as training. But that's going to be my talk at BioCoherence.
Okay, great.
Okay.
What you at?
Thank you.
Yeah.
See you next week.
Okay.
Question.
Yes.
When I'm listening to the Christine's meditation, I don't know if anyone else experiences, but sometimes I get lost in hearing what she's saying because the ocean is so loud.
You can adjust that.
I can?
Yes.
Great. I thought that was a me error.
No. You can adjust it, and you have some buttons on the left, which allows you to mute the voice or mute the frequencies, and then you have a torus button, a little torus. If you click on it, you can make the background noise half the volume, or even remove it if you want.
Okay, so you can tune it up and down.
Yes, just by clicking on it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually on purpose that the voice is almost indiscernible in the noise because that's usually how deep meditation works. But I understand sometimes it's maybe too much, so that's why we have added this adjustment.
Because I find myself trying to figure out what she's saying versus like listening to what she's saying.
Yeah.
So then maybe I just need to adjust it a little bit because I do like the sound. Of the
In fact, you don't really have to actively listen when you meditate. You have to just let the voice enter your awareness, and your subconscious should handle it somehow. So you can try and actively listen, but you can also try and just relax and let your body absorb the meaning, and it works perfectly.
Okay, good, because I felt like I fell asleep.
Yeah.
And then I woke when it was over, like right at the end, and I was like, "Oh gosh, I fell asleep." But maybe
which is actually a good sign. There were tests at some point where you could memorize entire books by just listening to the books while you sleep. So as soon as it enters your awareness, even if it's not in a conscious, active listening part, it works.
great. It's good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other question, or shall we stop here? Okay.
I think that covers it. Thank you. That was
Yes.
a great conversation today.
Yeah, and you are right to remind me of Hammer because there are a lot of things really interesting in Hammer, and I should try and integrate more into BioCoherence. So that's one of the 10,000 things I still have to do in BioCoherence. So it will come at one point.
Michael said if I can get him the German chart, he'll translate.
Yeah, I saw that.
That'll be good.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Right.
I stop
Thank
the
you.
recording now.